so today we're going to talk about the celery. I've been eating the celery because it's good for your teeth. That's what they said. That's why I've been eating it. Now, if you find celery, it looks a lot like this. If you see one, they look very similar to this, but there's many celeries everywhere. There's not just one. There's usually lots of celery combined, and then they got these leaves on the top right. Now, you know everything about celery. I don't have to tell you about celery. It's obvious what this is. Now, I wanted to tell you about this celery though, because it's something I hold very dear to myself. The celery. It looks very similar to the guitar neck, only it's not, and there's no strings on it, but there could be strings, kind of like string cheese, but with green strings. So we could make ourselves a celery instrument by getting ourselves some strings. We're going to make a bass, so we only need 4 strings. That's 1, 2, 3, and we need one more string, one more bass string, 4. Okay, so now that we have 4 strings, we need to tune it and make sure it's in the key of G. Celery always is in the key of G. So we need a tuner. To make a tuner, what you're going to do is you're going to break off a piece of celery like this. You're going to attach the string on the piece of celery. You're going to wind it up, okay? Got to make the sound. Wind the celery up. Okay, so it needs to be a little bit more. That's too far. Okay, so that should be the key of G. So that's the first string. The second string, which is the more bass string, will be in the key of B flat. And to do this string, you can't use this tuner because it's too weak, so you need to go to the other side of the celery, which has the extra crunch tuners. See, that's the tuner for the B flat, and you're going to put the celery on there and tune it to B flat. B flat. That is A sharp. Give me a second here. Okay. There we go. So we got 2 strings on it. Now we need the third string. Third string's a little curly. That can really affect the tone of your celery instrument. So what I like to do is I like to try to straighten that out somehow. Usually I like to use the celery, because even though it's counterintuitive, if you wrap the celery string around in a curl type way, you can pull. Well, actually what you do is you'll put, this is very difficult though, you don't want to break your celery, but if you somehow can thread it through the bottom, this allows you to pull the string and to create it so that it's a very straight celery string. Now, rather than make it's, I don't want to break it, but sometimes you can take the 2 parts of the celery and crack it just a little bit, just enough till you hear a crack. You hear that? And then very carefully, okay? And then once you do that, you're going to take the string and you're going to place it in there, in this celery. Okay, so now that you threaded the curly string into the celery, you're going to pull, and there might be a knot at the end. That's okay. And then there you go. So you can see how it's a little bit straighter than it was before. So that'll be the key of C. So now what we do is we go back to the fine tuners, and we put the C string to the opposite side of the G sharp, I think it was. Sometimes it changes. And then what we'll do is we'll make sure that we tune it to C for celery. That's the main string for your celery is the key of C. Okay. So now that we have the key of C, which for some reason knocked out all the other strings because it was so vital that we don't even need these other strings for the bass because we have a celery instrument with the key of C, and because we have the key of C and it's a curly string, and we already threaded through the celery, that means we can now play our celery instrument. So it's a wind instrument. And hold on, got to tune it a little bit. Okay, so it should sound kind of like that. It helps a lot to make sure that the string goes over the area that we broke over before, and then you can hear more of a different sound. Let me try that again. So you change the pitch by twisting the end. And now we'll play your first celery song. We'll do Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So what you'll have to do is you're going to do a quarter turn to the right. Okay. And then another one. So that's. And then to get that other note, we'll go quarter turn left. No. It needs to be air. So it's 2 turns to the right. And then 2 turns to the left. Right, right, left, left. And then you have to change your string to get to those higher strings. So you remember the B flat string. It's going to be the thinnest string. This is how you make the third note for your Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So we did. So it's going to kind of bend a little. So then we'll have to change our strings again, because now it's going to go to the lower register. And so you're going to, unfortunately, this is when your instrument might break a little bit, because to hit the lower tones, what you'll have to do is you'll have to crack a part of the celery yet again, mostly over here, just a little bit. Okay. So that's a problem. So what you can do is you can take the string that you're no longer using, because you're halfway through the song, right? You did the do, 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 do. So all the strings that you previously used to hit those notes are no longer necessary. So you're going to wrap that string around this piece of celery to make sure that it fixes the part that you broke. And then you're going to try again. So then you're going to take the lower string and you're going to put this here. And then remember, it was do, 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 do. That sound is what the G sharp string will hit. And you do that by, because we made the break here, and we need just slight of a gap, and then quarter turn to the left. And now we have to go back to those original note, so you have to undo the break that you did in the celery so you can get that tone, or you could, you know, make a new string, but it has to be the same. It has to be the same, I don't know if you call it diameter, you know, tonality as this one. So you'll look at the one that you use to fix your celery, and you're going to try to mimic and imitate that. So this is a completely new string. So we'll have to try again. And you only have so much of your celery before it's completely gone, you know. So let's try this again. Okay, so this looks pretty similar to this one. It's a little bit more dense, I would say. So instead of a C, it might be a B sharp or a C flat. And that's okay. But it'll just be a little bit out of tune for the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star if you still remember what the original notes were that we did. Okay, so. Okay, change the string. Chord turn to left. Except mine's a little bit broken, so you can hear that you know, it doesn't sound completely in tune like it did before. And there you have it. That's how you celery. Yep.